So ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be doing the Girl Scout Booktube tag. I didn't realize I would wind up doing most of these Booktube tag topics, but I don't know, I see the question and kind of like them, and I have answers for them, so we're going to give it a go here. The first item, let me get these off here. The first item, Trefoils. A classic novel you love. That's an easy one. Dracula. Of all the classic novels there are, that's kind of the only one I've actually read. I do have Frankenstein sitting back here because recently it kept coming up on YouTube. But in the, I think it was the mid-90s, I read the original Dracula and of course loved it and loved the correspondence used in it as a storytelling tool and so forth. They're also written beautifully. I kind of wonder why I didn't get more into them. I do not have a physical copy. I do not know what happened to it. However, something interesting for you. This is called Dracula the Undead by, what's this? Doc Ray Stoker. This is a, if I'm not mistaken, a great grandnephew of Bram Stoker. And he wrote his own sequel. There's something about copyright battles and things like that with Bram Stoker and all that. This by itself, a pretty damn good book. I mean, it will shock you. This is a horror novel, but a lot of people kind of criticize it because he takes the stuff from the original Bram Stoker novel and turns them upside down. I believe the term is unhappily ever after. Number 2, Lemon Ups. I've never eaten Trefoils or Lemon Ups. A book you find inspiring. Oh, that's an easy one. There we go here. This was an easy one. Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot. Whether you've read something he's written or you've heard him talk, this dude was as much as a poet as he was a scientist. If there was one entry that jumped out at me when I pulled this off the shelf, here we go, a little read to you. For 99.9% of our time, since our species came to be, we were hunters and foragers, wanderers on the savanna and the steppes. There were no longer border guards then, no custom officials. The frontier was everywhere. We were bounded only by the earth and the ocean and the sky, plus occasional grumpy neighbors. When the climate was congenial, though, when the food was plentiful, we were willing to stay put. Unadventurous, overweight, careless. In the last 10,000 years, an instant in our long history, we abandoned nomadic life. We domesticated the plants and animals. Why chase food when you can make it come to you? So the whole book is written this way, so you get scientific information and commentary with the soul of a poet there. Pale Blue Dot. You've probably heard quite a few quotes out of that book and didn't realize it if you've never read them. S'mores, a comforting book. Oh, here we go. One of my favorite little topics. This is Immortality by Dr. Ben Bova. That's a long title. How Science is Extending Your Lifespan and Changing the World. Probably my favorite little quote out of this book. Is he says, if you're under the age of 50, by the time you read this, you probably stand a very good chance of having death from old age be an option to you rather than an absolute rule. And this was published in 1998, so I was 27 at the time or so. 52 now. Ever since this book, I have followed this topic quite closely. I spend a little bit of time when a good article comes up spreading life extension information around on Facebook. As a matter of fact, I think I've got quite a few friends on Facebook, but guess what? Most of them are people who want life extension news, and I'm one of the little groundhogs that give it to them, dig it up and give it to them. So right now, I have to be very general here because a lot of the researchers don't really like to give out even a guess at a timeline just because people will hold it to them. So you can blame me. If you're alive in a decade, your chances are very, very good. You're going to be able to live as long as you want to. Right now, a good example would be Aubrey de Grey, who is doing, it's a $3 million per round experiment on mouse rejuvenation using different aspects from removing zombie cells from your body, getting the telomeres on your chromosomes to grow back, stem cell replacement, and it's a multi-pronged approach, and he's using hundreds of mice for this. He's already been through a round 1. I believe he's either done with a round 2 or he's almost done with it or something. And he hasn't done an update in a while, now that I think about it. And the goal then is to get through a few rounds and then say, okay, good, I've taken all this information, and now I can do actual human experiments, of which there have been a few. There's scientists that take, for example, rapamycin, which is something that can extend lifespan. But you know, funding, a lot of them don't want to use this word, immortality, because it turns people off and they think you're talking about superpowers when you're just talking about making people live a long time and live healthy. So I don't know that I want to live forever, but I'd like to have the option, and that's what I got to say about that right there. Adventurefuls, an adventurous book. This was an easy one too. I just said it right here. Conan by Robert E. Howard. So this is the, I don't want to call it, I think there were some before this, original sword and sorcery adventure books. This became, this is iconic work, but it wasn't during his lifetime. He might have been able to live long enough to see it, but unfortunately he was very devoted to his mother, and when she died, he killed himself. And then sometime after, I believe this fellow here, L. Sprague de Camp, was able to get the rights and bring them to the forefront, and thanks in no small part to Frank Frazetta and the artwork he would, this is his, but this is one of the really great ones. And so it was the, you'll judge a book by its cover. It was the cover art that really blew this through and turned it into what it is. Since this is the first book, we get this really great intro that's not just an overview, but there's actually a full letter in here where Howard talks about the Hyborian age, when Conan lived, a bit about Conan. He's 6 foot tall and weighed 180 pounds, and he was only 15 years old, that kind of thing. Probably the most well-known story in this one is called The Tower of the Elephant. So we have a teenage Conan about to, well, he starts out as a thief in life, and that's one of his thieving stories, trying to get into this tower and find his treasure within. Very Cthulhu, like H.P. Lovecraft, that story, but I won't go any further if you want to read it yourself. I put on a Conan t-shirt today while I'm at it. There he is. This is a Frazetta. A little out of proportion there with this giant neck, but all dudes want to have arms like this. Samoas, a book that combines 2 or more genres. So one of my, fast becoming one of my favorite authors, here we have Alastair Reynolds and Revenger. This is the first of a trilogy. Also with that is Shadow Captain, and the third and the biggest being Bone Silence. So this follows the story of a couple of sisters. The reason this is more than one genre, 2 or more genres, you basically have pirates, you have hard science fiction, kind of hard science fiction, and space opera kind of rolled up into one just fun book. So the piracy part of it is not just spaceships taking over other spaceships. Actually, the ships in one part, I was like, oh, they're made of wood. So there's wooden spaceships in space. I hope they're sealed up well enough. They do use solar sails, so you put out these giant reflective sheets, and the sunlight hits it, gives it a little push. It takes a little while to get up to speed because of that. But then on that same ship, they have rail guns. The basis for the story, the setup is that you have these the civilizations themselves. There were 13 of them, one coming right after another, and the previous one, they start with the 13th in this one. The previous one, the 12th one, was some 500,000 years into the past. So each one of these generations have been a long time. In those times, the solar system's been broken up and remade, and it's like a cloud of what are called baubles. And each civilization has left these treasures inside of these baubles, and they're sealed up. Someone with the skill can detect when they're going to open, and the idea is to get in there, get the stuff, and get out, because if it seals, you may be trapped in there forever or until you die, which might not take long depending on what resources are left inside those. And that is the basis for it. They basically, it's not all baubles. I mean, there's worlds, or at least stations, and just piracy galore. These are fun books. They were, some people think they're young adult because the two leads are teenagers, I think, when they start out, but it doesn't read that way at all. Just high-end writing from Alastair Reynolds. Where are we now? Oh, so you saw the title, Do-si-dos, a book you love that everyone hates, or a book you hate that everyone loves. So here is my blasphemy. Oh, goodness gracious. Here we have Brandon Sanderson. Now, disclaimer, I've seen him in interviews. Nice guy. So this is not an insulting thing I'm doing towards this man. And in part, I had a problem with this. That was just me. If there's one thing you can do, that I noticed in the books, very good characters. I was told, you got to read this because the magic system is amazing. Well, I got to this point in here where someone was throwing a coin on the ground and then jumping high on the sky, because only where the coin was, and they went leaping over the thing. And I said, well, that is just not for me. People love Mistborn. I did not finish that one at all. So we start with, which one is the one in order? Let's get that right. So here's book one, The Way of Kings. Now, maybe you can say, I like this book, because I did finish it. I detected it here, but it wasn't there as prominent. In the second book, however, Words of Radiance, things started to slow down. Slog. It starts to drone on and on and on and on and on and on, and I'm turning pages going, is something gonna happen here? There's nothing, it's just typing. I did finish the book, but when I got done, I said if the third book does the same, I'm gonna stop. And I didn't even make my usual 100. It was just droning, just typing. I sometimes wonder if an author gets so big, because this dude has sold a lot of books. This is a big deal author. It's just not for me. I can't do it. But I'm wondering if sometimes editors, they don't want to bother with them. Maybe they're intimidated, maybe they're afraid to just stop and go, look, dude, you don't need like this much of this book. It's crazy. There's big sections of the book where there's nothing, and because the author can just say, well, I don't need you, and continues on in the room. That has to happen, I imagine. I Anyhow, 7, Thin Mints, one of your all-time favorite books. So I decided not to do some obvious things, and I went through some of my videos I've done so far to hopefully, I don't think I've mentioned this book at all. This is by Paul Macaulay, Evening's Empires. This is actually the 4th in a series, but I didn't know that when I picked it up. It turns out it's a standalone. There are 3 other books. It's called the Quiet War series or Quiet War trilogy, and they stand separate from this. So this is all by itself. I almost recommend reading this and then reading the other 3, but all 4 books are really good. This starts out with a hijacking, and it's a family unit. This is for the most part hard science fiction. It's a little bit of biopunk, and I would say there's just little smidgens of little super science things, like if a whole bunch of people live on maybe a moon that's a little too small and they want more gravity, they drop what's called a singlet in there and it gives them more gravity, but it doesn't really talk too much about what that is. There's also this event in here where a well-known scientist, there's this quantum event where everyone experienced it everywhere all at once. And it was just the scientist looking back at them and then walking off into some bright area. And I thought I'd go back and find out what that is, but I didn't find it in the other books. That I daydreamed through it and wasn't paying attention, or is it in some short story somewhere? I don't know what it had to do with anything. In this, like I said, there's a hijacking in the beginning. It's on a family ship that's in the shape of a ring. It spins, so you stand on the inside, you get gravity, and pirates take over the ship. There's a really cool exchange between one of the pirates and the lead guy. He's a kid, and the family's killed, and he wants to find out why. But basically, he's on the run. This all takes out in our solar system, but in the outer reaches, which I think a lot of times you don't find a lot of. If they use the outer solar system, most authors will use like Jupiter and Saturn, but this even goes out further than Neptune and Uranus even. Anything else I can mention about this? Things like the biopunk the one thing I liked was these brain interfaces. You get them injected and they attach to your brain, and you show up to a given world and you download what's called that, like bios. It's sort of like taking a little snapshot of those I can't remember what the hell they're called now. The little cubes, you take the picture on your phone and it brings up the information. So you go to that world and you get some touristy information, maps, that kind of thing, as he goes around and tries to figure out the mystery behind what happened to his family and why. And there's clever. Since his family were traders, he brings with him really a host of knowledge from his whole family that he uses in bits and pieces to get himself through that and survive, and it saves his life more than once. So this is one of my favorite books. Read it a couple times. It's been a while though. Maybe I rarely reread books anymore. There's just too much new stuff, and maybe on occasion, if anything, I'll run out and reread favorite passages rather than the entire book. And oh my goodness, that's the end. Tagalongs. That'd be my favorite Girl Scout cookie, by the way. Peanut butter and chocolate. Tag fellow booktubers. Okay, so the last one of these I didn't see the people I tagged do anything. So I'm going to tag the same people again. Nice little copy and paste to make my life a little easier. Emma Books and Life, Benjamin's Book Club, One Mundane Man, and Dog-Eared Pages. Those are the ones I'm going to throw out there. We'll see if we can make them do something. That's it for today. I don't know if that'll be it for the whole weekend. I got the whole weekend off, 3-day weekend. Whee! It's going to be a rainy one though, but I'm still going to get out. And I have no family obligations. Great big used bookstore about an hour away. I might check that out this weekend. I ain't been there in a while, but I got stuff. I got 20-some books to still get through, and maybe I'll go book shopping. Does that make sense to people? For used ones. But I'll go to Barnes & Noble too. See if there's anything new there. What are you gonna do? Just buy your damn books. I don't understand that concept of it's a new challenge out where you read what you own. Okay, well, by the time you get done, there's going to be a whole bunch of other new books out that you're going to buy and have a long TBR anyway. So just, I don't know, I think you should just buy whatever you want, and when you get in the mood, read what you want. I think that's pretty simple. Thank you very much. I hope your weekend is a great one. Thank you.